One. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Indiana State Police Roadshow. I'm your host, Sergeant John Perrine at the Indiana State Police Public Information Office. To my right, you will recognize this man from everywhere, Superintendent Doug Carter. So honored to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
And of course, regular guest from the PIO office downtown, First Sergeant Ron Galaviz.
Good morning, John. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So the Roadshow is brought to you each and every week by the Indiana State Police Alliance and Cops for Kids, a subsidiary of the State Police Alliance. For more information about our sponsor, you can visit them at www.indianasfinest.com. A special thanks to MS Communications, Ms. Terry Stacy, Kyle Knezovich, and Matt Hiblin for all they do to get this on the airwaves every week from corner to corner of the state of Indiana. We appreciate their efforts, and of course Network Indiana as well. So here we are, Superintendent. This isn't a show that we look forward to talking about, but it's important, and coming up on the 3-year anniversary of the Delphi double homicide. A case that you've carried very, very close to your heart for the last 3 years, and just kind of an update on where we are with it.
Well, it's hard to believe it's been almost 36 months ago since Abby and Libby were brutally murdered. You're right, the case lives with all of us. My job is to keep it at the forefront, and I'll do all that I can do to make sure that happens. And apologize for my voice.
Yeah,
it's one of those. It's that time of the year. And I'm driven by their memory. I'm driven by their family and that community. Remember, it was on the heels of the Flora fire, which occurred in November of the year before, of 2016.
Devastating for that community.
Devastating, that killed those 4 little girls. So those 2 cases in rural Indiana represent evil in America, because the city of Delphi is any small town USA.
Absolutely.
And what I saw that community do, and how they came together to support the family and relatives and friends, and finally us, I'll carry it with me for the rest of my life.
You know, and all 3 of us, we sit here together combined with more than 70 years of police experience, and we've all can close our eyes and see the faces of those victims of those crashes and those cases we've worked. But this one had a unique feel because of the community outreach, and because we had a video, we had audio of our killer, and I can tell you, sitting in that command center a week afterwards, it just seemed like we were on the right track, and here we are almost 3 years later, still working our tails off on it.
You know, John, it's interesting you bring that up, because that's what keeps me awake at night too, because we can go back in time and evaluate, not to compare, but to evaluate. And are we going in the right direction, doing the right things, asking the right questions, interacting with the right people? I can't remember a time in my career where we have a photograph, sound, movement, and we're one step away, because somebody knows who he is. Every family member would know a family member if they looked at their body without their head. They would recognize the walk, the pants, the jacket, the hood, whatever that might be. Somebody's living in fear, and I wish they'd come to me or come to us.
And Ron, I know at the time you were other side of the state in Fort Wayne, but this is also a case that I'm sure you followed very closely as it unfolded. You know, talk about the complexity of something like this, because we have the video and all those things, and it seems like it should be so simple, but this isn't a 1-hour TV show. This is a real life.
You're exactly right, and we get communications from all over the place, you know, on a daily basis, asking, hey, you know, we have video, we have audio. Why haven't we caught this person? And again, there's so many complexities. There's so many unknowns, questions that the general public has of us, the media has of us, that we also have, that we would love to answer. And so when we go back and look, you know, oh goodness, about 1.5 years ago, you know, in Fort Wayne, they solved a 30-year-old homicide case of a little girl, the April Tinsley case. That one was examined and re-examined and re-examined. It wasn't dropped. It was just continually looked into until the technology caught up and allowed us the opportunity to advance our evidence. So is that going to be the same here? I don't know. I really pray, just like the superintendent does, this doesn't go 30 years. I'm hoping it doesn't go 30 more days or 30 more minutes, to be perfectly honest with you. We'd love a conclusion right now.
Somebody knows.
Somebody does know.
Somebody
Absolutely.
And you know, statistics would tell us that we probably have come across the name, the person somehow, because this investigation has spanned such a broad area.
Yeah.
But we don't have that one piece.
Yeah, I think once we find out who did this, we're going to think, yep.
I think
Yep.
so too.
I had the opportunity to travel with the family of Dr. Phil in Los Angeles, California.
Yeah.
He was terrific.
Mm-hmm.
He was very welcoming. Wasn't sensation. We didn't sensationalize anything. It was. Here's what happened in remote, rural Indiana, and it could happen in any community in America. And that was a terrific experience. I think it was for the families as well. Then a couple weeks later, we went to the East Coast and talked with Megyn Kelly. Same thing. I say give both of those examples, John, because of this is an opportunity for us to thank our media partners.
Yeah, absolutely. They were phenomenal.
Oh my gosh, they've kept this out in front.
Yeah.
There's been some criticism specifically of me, and that's okay,
Yeah.
for the amount of attention that we're giving to Delphi. We can't compare them; they're all different.
Sure.
And with nearly 50,000 tips on one case, that makes it different.
Absolutely.
So kudos to our media partners out there. Sometimes we fuss and fight with each other like brothers and sisters, but at the end of the day, just like Emmis and what they allow us to do here,
Yeah.
gosh,
Yeah.
I couldn't be more
Well,
grateful.
and just recently we're contacted by John Walsh and his show Pursued, and they're going to help us with this case as well.
This weekend,
Yeah.
coming
up. So again, this is an all hands on deck investigation. It has been. I don't want people to think that we've given up, that we've pushed our chairs back and said we're finished, because that's not the case.
no,
Not even close.
I said all along, once we finish, we're going to start all over again.
Yeah.
I don't believe in a cold case.
Right.
With technology today,
Yeah.
the way in which human beings communicate today, and with the interaction, I remember Jerry Holman and the sheriff of Carroll County saying once, when we're all done, we're going to start all over.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we'll do.
Absolutely, and I can tell you, First Sergeant Jerry Holman has kind of led this investigation that has so many incredible people involved. But I can assure you that there's not a day that goes by that he doesn't do something with this case.
Oh gosh, yes.
Phone calls, emails, reviewing evidence. He is still, almost 3 years later, actively involved in this investigation.
As is Jay Harper, who was one of my classmates. He's been on the department 35 years. A young trooper we assigned there, David Vito. A tremendous opportunity for him to experience something of this magnitude. And this is one of those cases that very few agencies in the country could handle. So we've had there's lots of partners.
Right.
Carroll County.
Well, we're actually not even the lead agency.
That's correct.
On paper.
That's right. That's right.
Although we've kind of assumed the perception of that. The
coordination
the Carroll County Sheriff's Department is heading this up, and we're getting assistance from FBI and all the federal agencies.
Right.
as well, too.
We've had hundreds of people from the ISP involved in this, and we will continue to as long as I'm here.
And where can people send those tips if they do think, what, I'm hearing this, I'm seeing this, I'm not real sure. Like I think it could be my neighbor, but yeah.
Well, I receive at least 2 to 3, maybe more than that, a week directly.
Yeah.
And so I'm only going to give you my perspective. You can talk to anybody dressed funny like us.
Absolutely.
And I hope that they'll do the right thing and get that correct information. Our website, it's alive and well on our homepage of the State Police website. The Carroll County website, Delphi PD, all of those people that are involved, please, 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 if you're listening to this and you have a bit of information that you think is likely not very important, it might be to us.
Very much.
We have a completed puzzle right now. And it's an aerial view of what happened to those 2 little girls.
Yeah.
The only thing we're missing is who.
Yeah. So, you may look at that photo and say, hey, my neighbor used to have a jacket like that.
Right.
Call us.
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean that we're going to go kick in his door with a SWAT team.
No.
But we need that information.
Absolutely, I totally agree. You said it in an interview the other day. We're one tip away.
Yeah.
One tip away.
One tip. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, again, let's change, because that community was hit with 2 devastating events in a short time.
Yeah.
Let's shift gears to the Flora fire and talk about, that's still a very active investigation as well.
It is, and there's a couple of components of that I wish we were able to complete. We haven't been able to do that yet. Again, I've been very careful not to get myself involved.
Sure.
I tend to screw things up.
Sure, we'll do.
But
our investigators are incredible.
They're
I do
awesome.
understand.
Oh my gosh, they're
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
And I will stand ready to support them at any hour of the day. We've traveled to multiple states in this country to try and find out who set that fire. Now, listen, I don't believe that anybody set it intentionally to kill those 4 little girls. I don't believe that. I hope I'm not proven wrong. I think it was a consequence of a bad choice. And again, I hope somebody will talk to us one day.
Yeah, and so in a short span of time, that community lost 6 young lives.
From November to February.
And
yeah.
I want to paint a picture for folks that maybe aren't familiar with what that community looked like in the days after. I've never seen anything like it.
I haven't either, John. No.
Our command center was packed to the ceiling with drinks and snacks and food. We had lines at the door of people saying, "Can I hand out flyers? What can I do?"
Right.
And so, what can they do? 3 years later, what can that community
Keep doing what they do.
Yeah.
Keep doing what
Yes.
they've done.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah.
I would love to have the recipes of many of those dishes that were delivered.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Oh
Yeah.
my! I'm glad I didn't
Yeah.
work up there
I
every
was
day.
there for a
but-
week and gained some
Right,
weight, I'm sure.
right,
But
right.
more than just the food, that community has raised funds. They've
Yeah.
built a softball diamond for those girls. I mean, they've just done so much. But gosh, wouldn't it be great if we could just close that last piece that they're missing and put somebody in jail for this?
I'm not sure how that would feel, but I can't wait. And if we've said this before, either one of these individuals or a group, whatever that might be, that were involved in this, there's multiple ways to resolve this in your mind and in your heart and in your soul.
Yeah.
And I hope you'll do the right thing one day.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have about 3.5 minutes here, Ron. This investigation has gone outside, and what people often do is they take to the internet and they send us a picture of somebody they go to church with, side by side with a picture of our sketch or one of our, and
Right.
say this is, and they're really that's kind of detrimental.
It really is detrimental because now you're putting somebody out there, somebody else's face out there, unknowingly, unwittingly, and who may absolutely have zero to do with anything.
Yeah.
And now you're putting them potentially in harm's way.
Right.
And that is one thing that we really don't want. So again, as the superintendent said, if you suspect that neighbor, coworker, whoever that may be, please reach out to one of the many sources with which to convey that information.
Yeah.
So that our investigators, who you've so aptly described as hardworking and dedicated and burning the candle at both ends, they'll follow up on that.
Yeah.
And they'll run that down and either verify or exonerate.
And remember, we can't give you a response to what we've learned. That's the difference between us. We have to talk about what we know, not what we think.
Right.
Yes.
And when people, I've heard some criticism about that, and I understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've given all this information, I never hear anything back. Well, believe me, we're keeping all that information. And remember, the sketch is not a photograph.
Yes.
I believe the murderer is going to have similar characteristics of both sketches.
Great
Sure.
point. Great point.
Yeah.
It's only a sketch. It's not a photograph.
Mm-hmm.
So stay away from a narrow focus of what you see in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again.
Sorry, Ronnie.
No, that's a great point.
That has been detrimental to not necessarily to our case, but to members of these communities who are
Right.
getting their picture put out there. Once it's put online, we can't take it down.
That's exactly
They'll
right.
call us and say, "Hey, whatever it may be, I'm not part of this, and I don't want a picture out there." And
And there's been some damage done to people.
yeah.
Yes.
It's unfortunate.
Yes, it is unfortunate.
That's the intent, but the
let's
consequences.
reiterate: if you have information about the Delphi homicide or the Flora fires, we're asking you to contact police. Anybody with a police uniform.
Yes.
If you don't have access to the internet, if you don't know who to call, you see somebody driving down the street in a police car, you flag them down and say, "Hey,
Right.
I want you to know this," and they will point that information in the right direction.
Absolutely.
And my email, that's perfectly fine too.
Yeah, dcarter@isp.in.gov.
It'll come directly to me.
Yeah, and that says a lot. That's not a filtered email. That goes straight to him. If you have information, he'd be happy to get that in the right hands
I
as
will.
well.
I promise.
Again, 3 years, 3 years of laying awake in bed at night, just wondering.
See, this just doesn't seem like it was that long ago. We were standing in that church, just a few days after that happened. And the connectivity in that community was really special.
Right.
Again, none of us, from our own perspective, will ever forget that.
Yeah. So we won't go into theories or concepts.
Yeah.
It's simply this: 2 young girls lost their lives viciously in Delphi, Indiana. 4 young girls lost their lives in a fire in Flora, Indiana. And somebody knows.
And somebody knows.
Yes.
And somebody knows. We need their help. You've been tuned into the Indiana State Police Roadshow, brought to you by the Indiana State Police Alliance and Cops for Kids. Thank you to my guest, Superintendent Doug Carter, First Sergeant Ron Galvez, you've been tuned into the current state of the Delphi investigation.